Howdy folks, it's me, Bob N, and I like to call this an N-Gauge Model Railway YouTube channel. So it only makes sense that I have an N-Gauge Model Railway, right? Well, yes and no. Do I have one? Yes. Is it good? No. A model railway can be as simple as a loop of track on a table, and there's absolutely no shame in it being that. But it's always more fun to go a bit bigger and a bit more permanent, which is what I'm trying to do. And while I do have a couple of loops of track that most of my locos can go around, it doesn't look very good, it isn't very straight, and some of my more fussy engines can only go around in certain directions on certain loops. So I've decided I'm going to rebuild, from the ground up, properly, and I'm taking you all with me in a new series, and I'm calling it... When I first started thinking about building a proper layout, I had only one criteria. It had to have a bridge. I'd always seen these Hornby suspension bridges and was jealous, wanted my own. So with it being my layout with me in charge, that was the first thing on the list. Next of course was the era, and I went for the 2000s to the 2010s. I grew up with a good view of a railway from my house, so I had a good idea of what kind of rolling stock that was often seen in the northwest and wanted to recreate that. Finally was the name, and this came to me while I was watching Thunderbirds. Some big rocket bound for Mars or something was going to cross a bridge, and the full-time bridge controllers in their office, in the bridge, were having an argument about whether the rocket was too heavy for it to pass. When one character says this:
"The Martian probe rocket must get to the takeoff site without a hitch. And we're going to make sure it doesn't get held up at Allington Bridge."
And there was my name. With this criteria filled, we could have a look at the final track plan, and this is what I came up with. It's a small inland port, somewhere along a Manchester Ship Canal-esque navigation, serviced by a railway with a reasonably busy commuter freight line. There's a station which backs onto the port itself, allowing easy transport for the workers, and a road up to the main town of Allington. For those interested in making their own railway, this piece of software is called SCARM. It stands for Simple Computer Aided Railway Modeler. This is the free version, but there's a larger paid version costing £30. Have a look, it's really good. So how do I get this looking like that? Well, the first step is, of course, this is one of many evolutions of baseboard I've had. The first was a single sheet of insulation foam, making it easy to pin the track in place, and having just enough space for a single loop of first radius track. When I moved, I gained more space, and this single sheet became 3, and the layout expanded again, following the track plan of Allington. I was hesitant to move away from foam as it was so much easier to work with than wood, and I didn't want to overcomplicate things. Then the pacer came, and highlighted the advantages of foam was also its downfall. I liked the foam because it was soft, but it showed it was too soft, and there were large dents and pools forming from the transport and storage. So I decided maybe the old ways were best for the reason, and went back to good old 9mm ply with a 2mm cork underlay. And then it was now, or rather a few weeks ago, when the Vomiter joined the fleet. It was so fussy it could only go round one loop, one way, and it shone a big spotlight on the problems that exist in the current state. 1. The track pins are all bent and rubbish. 2. The back straight isn't straight in the slightest. 3. Somehow, I've got to cut a hole in this. And there's only one solution to this, and it's one I've heard many times for many things before. Do it again, Bob, and this time properly. So let's do it properly, starting out with clearing all of this, printing out the track plan, and gluing it down. Now it's time to cut this big hole, and we want it as close to one piece as we can to effectively lower it to make a dock. So we need to take the baseboard and cut a big hole in it. Now normally I'd strengthen the baseboard with planks of wood, however I have the old foam baseboard that's just not really doing anything, so I'm going to glue that to the underside and use a saw to cut out the excess, and there we go. The baseboard matches the track plan, a dock exists, and the whole baseboard has been strengthened. And that's where we're going to leave it. The next step will be adding gradient and Allington Bridge itself, getting some track down, and hopefully getting a train round it. I hope you enjoyed this video and it inspires you to look into creating a model railway yourself. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, comment if you have anything to say, and I'll see you all next time.